All right, let's get this started. Hmm. All right. I'm getting an error message that my audio may not be working. Let me just give this a quick pause. All right, there we go. I got a notification when I started the webinar that my audio wasn't working. So I had a bit of a moment of, oh, now we've got to figure out some audio tech issues that are potentially happening here, which is always fun when you're not extremely techy. So thank you. I appreciate you letting me know that you can hear me, because that means I don't need to do any investigation on the tech side of things. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't already, open up the chat box. You should see a little ribbon at the bottom of your screen with a little chat bubble. If you could just open up that chat box, drop your name in there, say hello. I want to make sure you can hear me okay, which it sounds like the few of you who have mentioned that you can, it sounds like you can hear me. And while you are coming in, while you're getting comfortable, I want to share a little bit about my motivation for today's class, what to expect, what we're going to be flowing through today, and what you're ultimately going to be walking away with. So, what I frequently hear from women who are in perimenopause, and when I say perimenopause, that means 35 plus cycling woman. So you still have a period, you're in that 35 plus age range. Generally, I see perimenopause starting these days, mid to late 30s. Definitely by your early 40s, you're really in that perimenopausal window. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying perimenopause, okay? So hopefully that's resonating with those of you who are here with me today. What I'm hearing from these women is that they're overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. They feel like they've tried all of the things, but they still aren't getting results. They're still having problems with their period. They're still feeling anxious or depressed or irritable. They're still grappling with insomnia. They're still exhausted all of the time. They're still having trouble with their weight. They're still experiencing digestive issues. And they're confused. They're confused by all of the conflicting information. And it's no wonder. We are living in such a consumerism society. You can go online and take in so much information, and it becomes really overwhelming. And a lot of that information is conflicting. And you're kind of left in this space of, well, what's right? And what should I do? What's right for me? Right. And these women, they have no idea what's going on in their body. They don't know what to do to get relief from some of the symptoms that they've been developing, like heavier or longer periods, really irregular periods, more painful periods, new or more frequent headaches or migraines, insomnia, that one sucks, bone deep exhaustion, cognitive difficulties, things like brain fog, difficulty concentrating, trouble with memory or recall, mood swings, either the mood swings are new, or they've now been kicked up a significant notch. So there's a lot of anxiety, depression, irritability, agitation, those sorts of things. There's weight gain happening or unwanted changes to body composition when there haven't been any changes to diet or exercise. There's a recent diagnosis or the growth of fibroids or cysts. There's recent diagnosis or even worsening of conditions like endometriosis or adenomyosis, sore or tender breasts, fibrocystic breasts perhaps, digestive issues becoming much more common, like the bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, heartburn, indigestion, joint pain, feeling increasingly overwhelmed and stressed out. Let me know in the chat if this is resonating with you so far. Drop a yes if this is sounding familiar to you. And also do me a favor, and I'm going to open up another document over here, and I want to start taking some notes so I can really start giving you some of the more in-depth information that's going to be helpful for your specific symptoms, what you are finding yourself grappling with in perimenopause. So if you feel comfortable dropping that into the chat, let me know what it is that you're experiencing with, so I can really make sure we're touching on that for you today. And I'll often hear from women. I'm going to just keep talking while you're typing in the chat, and then I'll come back into the chat. I often do hear from women that they wake up one day, say, age 45, I'm just picking a number out of the air, and they realize that they've really been dealing with so many symptoms for so long. And it's been such a cumulative and gradual process that they didn't quite realize it was happening until they became unrecognizable to themselves. And for other women, it's more immediate. The symptoms come on strong and it really rocks them. What I want to do for you today is help you to understand what's actually going on in your body and with your hormones during perimenopause, because let's face it, none of us are taught about our hormones, our physiology, or our unique biochemistry at any stage of life, really, much less perimenopause. So I really want you to give yourself a break, okay? Far too many women are too hard on themselves, thinking they should know everything about their body. They should know exactly what to do. Why? Nobody has taught you this information, so please don't be hard on yourself. Okay, we're going to talk about what's normal and what's not during perimenopause and explore some myths that you've likely internalized from generational experiences. I'm going to move you through what happens if you don't use this precious opportunity to hone in on your hormones and your health, and what it can mean for you in your 50s, your 60s, and beyond. And we're going to dive into symptoms. What symptoms are caused by what hormones? And I'm going to give you some very specific and targeted suggestions for relief of those symptoms. How does that sound? Is there anything else that you're hoping that I'm going to cover in the class today? For those of you who have just been joining, you're coming into this space, do me a favor, just open up that chat box. I'm going to come into that chat box in just a second. Drop your name in there. Let me know if this is resonating with you so far. Just type yes if this is resonating. Let me just come in here. Manitoba, hello Manitoba. Unexplained weight gain, fibrocystic breasts, irregular period, sudden insomnia. 2 weeks ago, that grew into daily panic attacks and anxiety. Can't work or function. Only 39, 0 appetite. Okay, that's really. I've had my own struggles with insomnia. That was actually one of the first symptoms that I started to experience as part of my menopause experience. I'm going to be 42 in March. And insomnia, I had my first experience outside of pregnancy. When I had my first daughter, when I was pregnant with my first daughter, I had a lot of issues with insomnia and it was not fun. But in perimenopause, I had my first experience with really horrible insomnia. It was about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And, it's debilitating, and it really is, it's a whole body effect. It affects your immune system. It affects your hormones. It's going to affect digestion. It's going to affect cognitive function. It is probably, at least from my experience, one of the most frustrating, debilitating symptoms because it had such far-reaching effects. And yes, panic attacks, anxiety, there's a lot. I actually was doing some research today in that regard, perimenopause, mood swings, anxiety, panic attacks, and the gut relationship. So I'm going to be talking about the gut relationship. We'll deep dives into the gut in a couple of weeks. I'm really going to start to do that. I'll touch on some of that today for you though, too. And the appetite really comes from the dysregulation with cortisol because of that insomnia. Heavier periods, anxiety, insomnia, loss of focus, hot flashes. All right. Another question that I have for you, and if you're comfortable, if not, totally okay. I would love to know your age. if you're comfortable sharing that in the chat, great. If you want to just send it to me privately in the chat, you're able to actually adjust who that gets sent to. There's a little blue in the chat where it says to, just above where you type your message. You can actually just select me specifically if you don't feel comfortable sharing that across with everybody. Okay, 41, 49. Okay, so we're in our 40s, 44, 45. Okay, 45, 38. Okay, so yeah, you're definitely all in the right place in that sort of 40 range. So Donna at 38. And like I said, I'm really starting to see this even younger in some women, actually, 35 even, believe it or not. Had COVID. Yeah. Woke up in fight or flight for 16 months. Yeah. That was kind of like my experience. I had anxiety, but then, or insomnia, but then also chronic fight or flight. It's debilitating. Hormonal waves. Yeah. 45, progesterone. So we'll talk about this a little bit today too, in terms of, because the question always does come up, thoughts on, I've been getting this question a lot lately because there's been so much more conversation, at least I see it being in this space. There's a lot of conversation around bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, and there is definitely a time and a place for it. And I think can be really helpful for women in perimenopause and beyond, quite frankly, because our hormones, our sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, they are not just reproductive hormones. They're not just period hormones. They really have benefits. We have receptors on every single cell in our body. Every organ, every tissue has a receptor for estrogen. It is such an important hormone, and progesterone as well. These are really important hormones for immune function, cognitive function, bone health, heart health, urinary tract health. So bioidentical hormone replacement therapy can be really, really helpful. But the problem that I'm seeing is it is being used as a Band-Aid, quite similarly to, walking into your doctor's office and being told, just take the pill. Just take hormonal birth control, just take an antidepressant, just take this, just take that. There is no regard for supporting the woman's body holistically to improve their response to that progesterone, to really identify some of the other root causes that are contributing to the symptoms that they're experiencing, the health issues that they're grappling with outside of the hormones. So there's a time and a place, but we also have to be looking at the bigger picture. And then anti-anxiety meds, yeah, lower before all of this, now higher dose. Okay, we're gonna dig into all of this for sure. Illumination diet? I think you might mean elimination diet and a liver detox. 180, still struggling. Okay. Bleeding between periods. It can be. And this is where we start to have to look at, okay, are we talking spotting, like just a little bit when you wipe? Do you have to wear a panty liner for a day? Or are we talking like you're using a tampon, a pad, it's several days? Because there's different things that can be contributing there. Almost 40. Can perimenopause symptoms come on so suddenly? For some women, yes, it really can feel like it's so sudden and it rocks you. And for other women, it's a more gradual process. That's why there isn't this one unique solution that works for absolutely everyone, because we are all so unique biochemically, physiologically. We have different lived experiences. We have different environmental exposures. We have different life experiences in the current moment. So we all have very different experiences with perimenopause. So yes, for some women, it's going to come on rapid fire and it's going to feel like it's really rocking you. And then for other women, it can really feel more gradual until one day you're kind of sitting there thinking, who am I? Who have I become? What is going on with my health? I have this and that and the other thing. And it's just become this gradual accumulative process. until they no longer recognize themselves. What are your thoughts on the use of BHRT? So I just spoke about BHRT. All right, until the doxycycline, you know what? Medications can do that. And I see this happen. And this is not a knock on medications. There's a time and a place. There is definitely a time and a place. And sometimes we need a little bit of a crutch, right? But you have to understand that a medication disrupts a physical, or a physiological rather, a physiological multiple biochemical processes in the body. So it can have a really disastrous effect on our health, our hormones, our cognitive function, our moods, our gut health, our thyroid, because all of these processes really do get disrupted when we're taking medications. That's what they're designed to do. They're designed to shut down physiological processes, biochemical processes. Okay. You are in the right place today, all of you, based on the questions that you're asking and the experiences that you're having. And if you are ready to feel empowered with knowledge, with insights and education that frankly, you should have been given about your hormones, health, and physiology all along. This is information that I'm going to be sharing with you today that really we all should have. And it's unfortunate that we're not taught about our health, our hormones, our bodies, our biochemistry, our physiology, even at a young age, to know what to expect and what's coming and how we can better support our bodies for the long term. And you're also in the right place if you want to know and understand how you can experience feeling full of energy and vitality. Put your hand up in the chat if that is something that you don't even remember what that feels like anymore, and you long to feel full of energy, feeling vibrant, full of vitality, to feel stable and mentally, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, to not feel like you're living at the whims of your hormones. How many of you feel like that right now? Like I'm just here and my hormones are driving the bus and that's just the way I live my life. Let me know if that sounds familiar. And you want to feel healthy. You want to know how to support your health, your hormones, not just for now, but into the future, so that you can really prevent chronic conditions in your 50s, your 60s, beyond, that really do plague women post-menopause. You want to feel confident in your skin and your body, and you want to feel that feeling of happiness, that feeling of feeling like yourself again. Right? What are your goals for your health and your hormones? Drop that into the chat for me, and I see some hands going up there, so thank you for that. I long to feel all of this again. Me, I was never this way before. Okay, so we're going to dive into that. So a couple of housekeeping things. I want you to have a piece of paper and a pen ready, because I'm going to be sharing a lot of information with you today, and you're going to want to be taking notes, okay? If you're on your computer, please close all the other tabs on your computer, because it is so easy when a notification pops up. This is the world that we live in today. A notification pops up and you immediately go in and check it out. And by the time you've come back, you've missed something that was really relevant for you, and it's gone. You've missed that learning opportunity. Really be present with me today. Because if you allow yourself to get distracted, it will be in those moments where you're going to miss those valuable pieces of intel that I'm going to share with you that can have the biggest impact on your health goals. Okay, we're going to be talking about digestive health and function today, liver and detoxification, nutrition, blood sugar, insulin stability, adrenal and nervous system support. This is going to be really important for those of you with insomnia. Okay, I'm going to be providing you with practical everyday steps, a bit of a roadmap, if you will, where I'm going to share a ton of action steps that you can be taking to support your health and your hormones through perimenopause and beyond. Feel free to ask questions, but please also keep in mind that as you're here looking for advice and guidance, while I can do my best to provide you with answers and directions as a functional practitioner, I am not your practitioner, okay? And also keep in mind that what I'm going to be moving you through today simultaneously may feel like a lot, but it's also just scratching the surface. This is material that my team and I spend 6+ months teaching and moving our clients through in my program, the Hormone Harmony Method. Okay, sound good? Give me a let's go in the comments if you are ready to dive in. For those of you who have just been popping on in the last couple of minutes, drop your name in the chat, say hello. Let me know what you're hoping to get out of the class today. Let me know if you're ready to get going, say let's go. And also just a heads up, I will towards the end be letting you know how you can work with me and my team. So make sure you stay on if that is something that you are interested in. And on that note, let me actually backtrack a little bit and tell you a little bit about me. Because I get this question, well, who are you? Why, what designations do you have? Where did you go to school? Why should I listen to you? I have an honors bachelor's from the University of Toronto. I graduated with first-class honors from the Institute of Holistic Nutrition. I'm a certified nutrition practitioner from the CNPCC. I'm a certified menstrual health coach with the Institute for Menstrual Health. I'm certified in Dutch hormone testing. I'm certified in clinical detoxification and certified in clinical lab diagnostics. And really what all of that boils down to is I help women in perimenopause, 35+ cycling women, to optimize their health and hormones so they can regain their energy, they can thrive naturally without having to rely on hormonal birth control medications or surgeries. And I've spent the last almost 10 years, decade, studying, researching, and up-leveling my knowledge and education to become a specialist in women's health and hormones. I've been mentored, coached, and guided by some of the best in the industry. So I feel very well equipped and confident to be teaching this to you and supporting the women who come to work with me, to support the ladies who work with me and my team with things like heavy, long, and painful periods, endometriosis, adenomyosis, autoimmunity, digestive health and wellness, adrenal fatigue, fibroids, PMS, PMDD, mental health, just to name a few. And on a personal note, I'm 41, I'm going to be 42 next month. I started to experience some of those perimenopausal shifts a couple of years ago now. I mentioned the insomnia. That was brutal. Shortening of my cycle and migraines. Those were debilitating too. So I get it. It sometimes can feel like these changes happen overnight. And sometimes it's this slow evolution and culmination of so many symptoms that you don't even realize they're connected until someone starts to help put those pieces together for you. I'm going to just pop back over into the chat. I'd like to have my hormones balanced with a regular period. Will there be a replay? Yes, there will. It will go out later tonight. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Okay, amazing. Awesome. So let me know in the chat if you have been to your doctor and you feel like you haven't been taken seriously. You've been brushed off, told that your symptoms are normal, told that you're too young to be experiencing something like perimenopause. So many women are being told in their late 30s, even their early to mid 40s. I had a woman on Instagram tell me that her doctor said that at 44, she was too young for perimenopause. Blew my mind. Have you felt let down by your doctor, discouraged by the treatment or lack thereof, more likely, that you've received, that you've never gotten follow-ups on labs, or that you don't understand your labs? You feel lost, alone, confused, angry, overwhelmed, disappointed, like you're battling with your GP or your PCP for help, that he or she doesn't care or even listen to you. Let me know if you're frustrated because all your medical doctor has to offer you is hormonal birth control, like the pill or an IUD. I'm seeing the IUD much more commonly than the pill these days, which is interesting. It used to be much more the pill, the pill, the pill. Or maybe it's other medications like tranexamic acid or SSRIs, or you've been told that you should just have an ablation or a hysterectomy already. Let me know in the chat if this is feeling familiar to you, if you've been down that road. Been to emergency twice last week with chest pain. So heart palpitations, you know, it's so interesting. There are there were originally 9 symptoms that were attributed to perimenopause. And as there has been more research into this area over the last several years, there's something like 100 or more symptoms that are now attributed to perimenopause, and heart palpitations are one of them. Urgent care psychiatry, everyone just offered meds and never mentioned perimenopause. Yes, frustrating. Was prescribed to use progesterone. Okay, so what's really going on with your hormones? This is kind of like a perimenopause hormones 101 here. So we're going to talk about what's going on with your hormones. We're going to talk about what to expect, what the transition should look like, what's normal, what's not normal. We'll talk about some myths here too, okay? So perimenopause, hormonally speaking, it's a wind down phase. Wind, not wine. It's a wind down phase. It's like puberty in reverse, okay? Where when we think about puberty, our hormones are gearing up and they're coming onto the scene. In perimenopause, our ovaries are starting to dial down production of our hormones, specifically estrogen and progesterone. Now, it doesn't happen all at once. They also don't just both kind of exit the scene. Progesterone generally is going to gradually decline first. You're going to probably, typically, but not always, typically start to notice shorter cycles. So having periods every 24, 25, 26 days, for example, maybe even shorter than that. Then you might start to skip periods. Then cycles might start to become longer, 50 days, 60 days, for example, okay? With estrogen can be a little bit more dramatic and can fluctuate a little bit more substantially. But there's a bit of a myth here that estrogen has to take you on a roller coaster ride and it has to feel like hell. Okay, this is not a competition to see who has it the roughest. This is not grinning and bearing it to earn your menopause. In fact, if you look at ancestral societies around the world, women don't experience perimenopause in the way that we do in the Western world. It really is a modern day phenomenon. It's an evolutionary mismatch between our physiology and our environment, our lifestyles, our food availability, our societal expectations, and more. So this idea that we have to feel like we're riding an involuntary roller coaster of hormones in our 40s, that we should feel utterly exhausted, like a shell of our former selves, haggard, that we should feel old, it's simply not true. It doesn't have to, and it shouldn't, in fact, be that way at all. It really should be a gentle, subtle, gradual transition, okay? But I digress. Back to estrogen. Now, the degree that estrogen fluctuates, it's going to vary based on a variety of factors. How well your blood sugar is managed, how sensitive you are to insulin. And these two are absolutely critical and some of the first steps that I teach inside the Hormone Harmony method, that for so many women, it stabilizes their hormones, their periods, their moods, their energy levels, their sleep patterns. It's going to depend on how well your liver is metabolizing your hormones, particularly estrogen. We're going to dive deeper into the liver shortly. Just know for now that this is absolutely essential for supporting your estrogen dominant type symptoms, like the heavy, long, painful periods, the anxiety, depression, irritability, mood swings, fibroids, polyps, cysts, fibrocystic breasts, breast pain and tenderness. It's going to depend on how much insulin, or sorry, not insulin, histamine that your mast cells are producing. And histamine also is hugely influenced by your digestive system, by bacteria that themselves can produce histamine, and by other bacteria that can stimulate your mast cells to make histamine. So this is another example here of the impact that your gut has on your estrogen in perimenopause. And like I said, we're going to dive into the gut a little bit deeper in terms of perimenopause today too. It's also going to depend on how well your estrobolome, the bacteria in your gut that manage estrogen and estrogen circulation, how well they're performing. It's going to depend on your nervous system regulation, how resilient your adrenals are, how well managed your cortisol levels are. Your adrenals and nervous system are absolutely integral to how you move through perimenopause. This is really at the crux of peri, okay? There's a plethora of other factors involved here, not just simply your hormones, okay? That's kind of the point that I want to make. Are you with me so far? Let me know in the chat if this is making sense. Was told either birth control or a hysterectomy if I didn't want to do birth control were my best options to help with my adenomyosis. So Jessica, reach out to me on Instagram if you're not already following me on Instagram, if we haven't connected there, at stephanie.sing.balancedhealth. I have an adenomyosis video resource that I can share with you that talks about all of the things that we really need to be looking at from a holistic perspective for adenomyosis. The pill and a hysterectomy are not your only options, that's for sure. And everything that I'm going to be talking about today is also going to help with adenomyosis as well. Okay. Now, initially, perimenopausal changes might feel subtle. Okay. For some women, it might feel subtle. Maybe there's a little bit more pain with ovulation. Maybe there's some spotting. Maybe your period comes a day or two earlier than you expected. Maybe your muscle tone starts to change. You're finding it harder to drop the weight than you used to. Maybe your PMS symptoms are becoming more noticeable. You're finding yourself more irritable, more anxiety or depression. Your bullshit meter is smaller than it used to be. Maybe you feel more bloated. You're not feeling energetic or vibrant as you once did. Please do not write these types of symptoms off as, oh, I'm just in my late 30s, my 40s, that's normal. Or I have kids, so of course I'm tired. Or I'm running a business, so of course I'm overwhelmed, anxious, or exhausted. Or I lead a team. It makes sense that my body is changing or because I don't have time to exercise. Don't do that. Don't write it off. Don't ignore it. It's not normal. Common, maybe, but common doesn't mean normal. I want you to think about diabetes here for a second as a bit of a corollary. Diabetes, and I use this example often, so you might have heard me say this before. Diabetes is one of the most common diseases in North America. Does that mean that it is normal to be diabetic? I hope you would agree that common does not mean normal. Okay. Women are generally starting to see symptoms crop up in their 30s, but often they're ignoring them. This is the time to really start leaning in and paying attention. Track your body signs and your symptoms. Keep a journal. What symptoms are you noticing? Sleep, digestion, skin, hair, period, mood, cognitive function, energy levels, weight. This is really valuable information for you, as well as for if and when you go to work with a practitioner to really help to understand that timeline, potential triggers, associations, how to approach your care. These are whispers from your body. Okay, this is the time to take notice, to take charge, and take a preventative approach to your healthcare. Don't ignore the whispers. Lean into them and start paying attention, because what happens if you ignore those whispers of energy starting to decline, of starting to become a little bit more elusive? Your sleep is more elusive, your iron levels are dropping, your periods are becoming heavier or longer, your hair is thinner or falling. Those whispers, if you ignore them, become louder. These whispers are your body's way of saying, hey, listen up. There's something going on in here. I need your help. And it's just going to get louder and louder and louder if you don't lean in and pay attention. Fibroid cysts and polyps will develop. Migraines and headaches will come more often and with greater intensity. Sleep is going to become even more problematic, and you're going to feel even more exhausted. Anxiety is going to come all-consuming. Blood work is going to start pointing toward things like prediabetes, thyroid conditions, potentially even autoimmunity. It's when we start to hear these whispers that we really need to be leaning in and seeking help from a practitioner. Does that mean that if you've passed that whisper period, you're in your 40s and you're hearing these loud, angry shouts from your body that, well, crap, I missed my window, too bad, so sad? No, absolutely not. Your 30s and your 40s set the stage for your health in your 50s, your 60s, and beyond. This is the opportunity to take the reins. This is where you get to decide how you want to live out the second chapter of your life. Will it be full of vitality, longevity, strength and energy, health and happiness? That's the choice that you get to make now. Your 40s is really when it becomes a non-optional to bring support into your body, priming it for when you one day reach menopause, priming it for post-menopause, for the decades of life that you're going to live after that one day of menopause, setting yourself up for a healthy transition, mitigating and reducing your risk for conditions and diseases that plague women post-menopause. I'm tripping over my words today. Conditions and diseases like cardiovascular disease, dementia, Alzheimer's, diabetes, autoimmunity, cancers. Okay. Just like our 20s set the stage for our 30s and our 30s set the stage for our 40s. We can't go back. We can't go back and change any of that. But that also doesn't mean, well, I really fucked things up, so I guess I'm screwed. No, your 40s set the stage for your 50s, your 60s, and beyond. You have a whole second half of your life to live. This is where you get to take ownership over your health. Okay? Is this making sense so far? Are you with me? What questions do you have? Now that we are having children much later, yep, how does perimenopause and childbirth and lactation work together? You know, it's really interesting because there's a lot of women now who are going through perimenopause and rearing. That's such a weird word. I don't love that word, but there it is. We're raising babies in perimenopause. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to impact lactation. For some women, they might have a more difficult time. But when you think about these transitions that we're going through as perimenopausal women, first of all, when we have babies, postpartum is a very difficult period of time hormonally. It's one of the biggest transitions hormonally that we experience as women. Puberty is one, postpartum is another, and then perimenopause. Those are the three biggest hormonal shifts and transitions that we experience as women. So imagine you're postpartum and perimenopausal. It can be a really rough road for women, especially if they haven't spent the time before that pregnancy to really optimize their health, their gut health, their hormonal health, their thyroid health, their adrenals and nervous system, their liver, their blood sugar, for example. Okay. Breastfeeding and in peri. Well, good for you. That's really exciting. You know, we live in a world where women are having babies much later. You know, my mom was 28 when she had me, and I think that was actually considered a little on the older side for that generation. I was 31 when I had my first daughter, so a little bit older. We're seeing a lot more women in their late 30s, their early 40s having their first child. It's becoming so much more common. So these are very real situations that women are experiencing, two very massive hormone transitions occurring simultaneously. Any other questions before I continue? I want to try and be mindful of time. I'm good. I can hang out with you for a couple of hours, but I'm sure you all have days that you need to get back into. So I want to try and be mindful of your time and respectful of your time. So let's also now talk about what symptoms are caused by what hormonal imbalances and some top priorities to support your hormones to get some of that symptom relief. Okay. I really want to dial into the hormones. I want to dial into what's happening there, symptoms you may start to experience. So I mentioned progesterone. As it starts to wind down, we start to have more anovulatory cycles. So we have cycles where we're not ovulating, so we don't produce progesterone. And we're starting to have cycles where we may still be ovulating, but we're not producing as much progesterone. So we might notice that sleep may not be as solid. Headaches are more often coming into your period. We're spotting both before and after your period. There's water retention, bloating, joint pain and stiffness, and more mood-related concerns like anxiety and depression in particular, because progesterone is hugely connected to GABA, which is a neurotransmitter that is responsible for calming the nervous system, for controlling anxiety, stress, and fear. Okay. How do we make progesterone? We make progesterone by ovulating. So we want to continue to ovulate for as long as possible through perimenopause so we can continue to make progesterone. You may have heard me say this previously. I think I said this earlier today in this class. Progesterone is not just a pregnancy hormone, a period hormone, or a fertility hormone. It's an essential health hormone, especially in perimenopause, because it's responsible for calming the nervous system. It induces parasympathetic nervous system activity. That's like our chill pill. It's a natural chill pill. Okay, it's going to reduce inflammation, nourish the thyroid, help it function effectively, boost energy, stimulate metabolism, improve mood, support sleep, reduce anxiety, reduce histamine, build bones and muscles, reduce cancer risk, and protect against heart disease. So can't we just take bioidentical progesterone? I talked about this a little bit at the beginning. Yes and no. Okay. BHRT can be such a valuable tool. I am not against bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. I want to put that out there right now. Okay, I'm not anti-BHRT. However, if all you are doing is bioidentical progesterone, as an example, it's not going to be effective. We have to support your body's ability to actually use that progesterone. We've got to do things like support your blood sugar and insulin sensitivity, support your metabolism, reduce your inflammation, improve cellular health and function, support the gut and the liver, and improve resilience of your adrenals and your nervous system. All things that I'm going to be diving into today. Otherwise, it's not going to be as effective as it could be. That's not how supplementation or hormones work. Hormones are just chemical messengers. Okay, they're just chemical messengers. They can't effectively do their job if the environment, that internal landscape, doesn't support their delivery. Not to mention, we can't hyper isolate a hormone or a symptom. We need to take a step back and look at the body holistically, at all the interconnected parts. It's a multifactorial approach to your health, which is radically different from what we're used to experiencing with the medical system, right? Which treats really a symptom with a pill, right? That's where we've gotten this idea that all we need to do is take a supplement or take a pill. How has that worked out for us? Right? How has that worked out for us? Does that sound familiar to you? Let me know in the chat, how many of you are on bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, whether that's progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, doesn't matter. I'm curious. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with it. It can be really helpful, but we really need to take a step back and think about this idea that all we have to do is take a pill. We've become a society on multiple medications growing sicker and sicker. It's not an effective approach, is it? Does that make sense? Not yet, but tempted. Oh, you mentioned so many of the symptoms I'm experiencing, especially bones. I feel my joints are really tired. Yeah, not yet, but tempted. Yes, was about to start out of desperate. See that, and that's what happens, right? We get to a point where we're desperate for relief, but it just becomes another thing that we're chasing, and we're dancing around and ignoring all of the other things that are going on in our body. I was prescribed prometrium progesterone for 6 months, so that's not a bioidentical. Okay, we really need to take a supportive approach to ovulation and progesterone. Like I said, we need to take a step back. We need to take a holistic approach and consider the multiple factors that are involved in this process. And the biggest areas to focus on are your nervous system and adrenals and blood sugar. So get your pen and your paper out, start jotting some notes down, because this is where I'm going to start to give you some tangible things that you can walk away with, okay? All right, here we go. Can you prioritize your sleep? And if you're struggling with sleep, work with a practitioner who can help figure out why. The Dutch test can be really helpful in understanding what your cortisol is up to. Also doing a thorough health history and timeline to understand what some of those underlying mechanisms are, some of those triggers that are preventing you from having a good night's sleep. Can you use blue light blockers, or better yet, avoid screens in the 2 hours before bed to support cortisol and melatonin production? If you're waking up at night to pee, limit your fluid intake in the evening. Also try things like magnesium, passion flower, lemon balm. These are great nervine tonics that support your adrenals and support sleep. By the way, for those of you who do wake up at night to pee, this is back in my pre-perimenopausal days. I was in my early 30s. I would wake up at night to pee, and it's so frustrating because it disrupts your sleep, and then you're tired and you've got little kids, and it's just a shit show. Pardon my language. Your nervous system and your adrenals, they're interconnected, they're BFFs, they're really one and the same. Your adrenals produce a hormone called the antidiuretic hormone at night to prevent you from getting up to pee. So when your nervous system, your adrenals, and cortisol are dysregulated, you're more likely to wake up at night to pee. So supporting your nervous system, your adrenals, really helpful here, okay? So things like passion flower, lemon balm, valerian, all of these sorts of things, these nervine tonics can be really, really nice. Turn down the lights in your home in the evening to support cortisol and melatonin production. Make sure your room is dark and cool. Use a night mask. I love my night mask because my daughter, my youngest daughter, likes to leave the bathroom light on. So she's got a little bit of light if she needs to wake up at night to pee. And she's also just a little bit of a freak. She likes lots of light when she sleeps, despite the fact that I tell her she's suppressing her melatonin. But she likes to keep that light on. So I put my night mask on and I don't notice it at all. Turn your electronics off. Airplane mode for your phones. Use a white noise machine. I started using a white noise machine when I had my first daughter, and I love it. Incorporate stillness into your day. Bring in some deep breath work. Take pauses throughout the day, even if it's just a couple of minutes, to do some deep breaths and light stretches. Eat protein. Prioritize protein. I'm not a macro counter. I'm not going to sit here and say you need to have this much protein, this much carbs, this much fat. It's not about counting macros, but if you're going to prioritize any macro, it should be protein, because that is going to nourish your blood sugar. It's going to support and balance your blood sugar. It's going to help build muscle, which is so critical in perimenopause. It's going to give you the amino acids that you need to support your liver function, to create all of your enzymes, to support digestion. Prioritize protein, but also get some fat and fiber in there as well. Fiber coming from your carbohydrates, your fruits, your veggies, your whole grains, okay? Eat breakfast within an hour, max hour and a half of waking up in the morning, of getting out of bed in the morning. And your breakfast, ideally 30 to 40 grams of protein, okay? And ideally 100 to 120 grams of protein per day. It's really important, protein, not just to support insulin, as I said, and building muscle, but it's an organ of longevity. It's an endocrine organ. It's going to mop up excess insulin and blood glucose. If you have gotten blood work done with your doctor and you've been told that you are nearing that pre-diabetic range, you are becoming insulin resistant. The only way that you can reverse that is by putting more muscle on your body. It is your muscle cells that have the GLUT4 receptor that mops up and responds to insulin. So you need to get that muscle on your frame, okay? It's going to improve mitochondrial health. It's going to improve bone and heart health as well. So prioritize protein and produce, lots of non-starchy veggies, fruits. Carbs are not the enemy. Okay, we just need the right ones, and we need to pair them properly, okay? And include healthy fats. I like 2 to 4 tablespoons per meal. Healthy fats do not make you fat. We've got to get out of this mindset that fat makes you fat. They are very nourishing to your nervous system. If you are somebody who identifies with feeling burnt out, exhausted all of the time, running on fumes, completely overwhelmed, you can't deal with stress anymore, you're hitting the snooze button 1,010 times to get you going in the morning, you need all of the caffeine to get you up and moving, and then at night you're wired and tired, you're struggling with insomnia. If you identify with that, You really need to focus on nourishing your nervous system. Healthy fats will do that for you. Carbohydrates will also do that for you. Okay, you need the two of them together. Okay, healthy fats are the building blocks for all of your steroid hormones, your sex hormones. They're going to nourish the nervous system, as I said. They provide lubrication to your cells, your brain, your joints, your digestive system. They also stabilize blood sugar. Can you bring in an afternoon snack? This is really beneficial for blood sugar. I find in practice with the women that I have had the privilege of working with, they do really well with an afternoon snack that's supportive to the nervous system, supportive to blood sugar. Okay. There's so many things that you can be doing to support ovulation and progesterone. And a lot of these things you need to be doing if you're using bioidentical progesterone or you're considering bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. Okay. Now, what about estrogen? Let's talk about estrogen. So that's progesterone. I want to come and focus in on estrogen for a little bit here. And doctors, it's really important to understand this. Doctors are only looking at estradiol, which is the main estrogen that we make during our reproductive years. But it's not our only estrogen. It's estradiol that's going to fluctuate during perimenopause, but we make more than one estrogen, and those estrogens have to get broken down once they've done their thing so they can be eliminated. Estrogen is a use it and lose it hormone. Okay, it's been maligned as a hormone. Everybody talks so badly about estrogen. Estrogen, I used to be one of these people, okay? Let's be real. I used to be one of these people. Estrogen is so bad. It's causing all of your symptoms, but it's also a really important hormone. It's a yes and situation, okay? It's problematic when it gets out of control, when it's the wrong forms of estrogen, when we're not eliminating it, but it's also a really important hormone because it's going to support heart health. It keeps our bones strong. It keeps us lubricated, not just our vaginas, but our eyes, okay? All of our mucous membranes, estrogen helps to keep them lubricated. It supports brain health and cognitive function. It keeps the urinary tract healthy. It supports skin, hair, and nail health, and so much more. We have receptors. I mentioned this earlier. We have receptors on every single cell in our body for estrogen. It's not just a reproductive or period hormone, just like progesterone isn't. And just like progesterone isn't just a fertility or pregnancy hormone. We want estrogen around, but we want it around to do its thing, and then we want it out. It's a use it and lose it hormone. We don't want it hanging around longer than it should be, like that unwanted house guest that just doesn't get the hint that it's time to go home. I had that problem New Year's Eve. People who stayed until 3:30. It's like, I want to go to bed. Thanks. And then we also have to see in relation to progesterone, this is where we tend to become more estrogen dominant in our late 30s and into our early to mid 40s typically, okay? This is where we start to see those problems in early perimenopause, okay? When we start to see more estrogen on the scene. The real problem with the estrogen dominance piece isn't just the overall amount of estradiol or even the declining progesterone. I'm going to repeat that because it's really important. The problem isn't just the overall amount of estrogen. The problem comes when your liver isn't metabolizing estrogen properly and or you're not eliminating estrogen effectively through your poop. Okay? Once estrogen has done its thing, it's hit on all the cellular receptors in your body, it's taken its action, it gets tagged as being used, it's done its thing. Then your liver gets to go in and break it down. And this happens in 2 phases in the liver. And the problem is your liver is an incredibly overworked organ. It's got over 500 other jobs that it needs to do. It's also responsible for things like managing blood sugar and metabolism, storing vitamins and minerals, synthesizing proteins, making bile to support digestion, creating and activating enzymes, detoxifying all of the toxicants that we come into contact with on a daily basis, including alcohol. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, okay? Our liver has become an incredibly overburdened organ. We live in a toxic soup these days. And by the time it gets to estrogen, Oftentimes what I'm seeing on the Dutch tests that I run with my ladies that I work with in perimenopause is that their liver is metabolizing estrogen incorrectly. So we have too many of the wrong forms of these breakdown estrogens or estrogen metabolites. And these, more often than not, are the real culprits behind the estrogen dominant type symptoms that we see in early perimenopause, like the heavy, long, painful periods, the fibroids, the cysts, the polyps, the breast pain, the tenderness, the fibrocystic breasts, the increased PMS, even PMDD, headaches, migraines, endo, adeno. Okay, so supporting the liver is really important here, as is running the right testing to know how your liver is even breaking down your estrogens, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Okay, and you can support your liver by using castor oil packs, drinking lemon water in the morning, using apple cider vinegar, eating bitter greens like mustard greens, arugula, dandelion greens, eating artichokes, beets, cruciferous vegetables, switching out your conventional products for organic, avoiding things like packaged, prepared, processed, fried foods, refined grains and sugars, alcohol, dairy, vegetable oils, making sure you're drinking plenty of filtered water, adding chlorophyll to your water, getting your electrolytes in. And we have to think about your digestive system here too when we're talking about estrogen, because this is how we eliminate estrogen, through your poop. Okay, so if you're constipated, as an example, we've got to get your bowels moving to keep estrogen moving. We've got to look at your estrobolome here too, again, with proper testing to know how those bacteria are managing estrogen in circulation. Oftentimes what I'm seeing is an increase in the bacteria in the estrobolome that are causing estrogen to be recirculated instead of eliminated. Gut health is so critical to supporting estrogen. This is where functional testing with a GI map is so important in helping us to identify how healthy the digestive system is. Your gut is the root of all health. Everything starts in the gut. You've got to have a functionally optimal digestive system if you want to be healthy and energetic and vibrant, okay? I'm going to go into the gut in a little bit more detail, but before I do that, is this making sense so far? Give me a yes in the comments. What magnesium do you recommend for constipation as well? I'm okay with. So here's the thing. I don't like to use magnesium for constipation because that's no better than saying, here, just go take a laxative. It's not actually addressing why you're constipated, right? Like a magnesium citrate is going to be the best form for constipation, but you're ultimately still dancing around a symptom. You're trying to get a supplement, a pill, to fix the symptom. We've got to identify, well, why are you constipated? Are you hydrated? Are you getting enough fiber? Do you have some bacteria in your digestive system or a parasite that is making you feel constipated? What's going on in there? I don't have a progesterone brand to recommend. That's not part of my practice. I posted a question. I'm not looking at the QA, I'm looking at the chat. So if you have something, you can pop it here. 100%. Yes, yes. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's dial into the digestive system. And I'm not looking at the Q&A, just to go back to that for a second. I'm not looking at the Q&A because then I'm looking at all of these different places. We're keeping it succinct and in one spot, okay? So let's dial into the digestive system for a second because your microbiome shifts in perimenopause. I've been digging into the research on this lately, and it's really fascinating. So for a lot of ladies, they start to experience more digestive issues like bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, indigestion, heartburn. They're starting to find that they're more sensitive to foods or reacting to foods that they didn't previously. Okay, let's actually do this. I want you to mentally, or use your fingers, count on your fingers, do little lines on a piece of paper. I want you to start checking symptoms off, okay? So I'm going to read these ones again that I just read through. Bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, indigestion, heartburn, new sensitivities to foods. So those are 7 really obvious digestive symptoms. How many can you relate to? Pop that into the chat. And the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to read through a list of symptoms, because often I'll have ladies say to me, well, I don't have any digestive symptoms, so my gut's great. And yet they're anxious all of the time. They're having panic attacks. They are struggling with insomnia. Their body composition is not the same. They've got joint pain. They've got headaches and migraines. They're struggling with brain fog. All of these symptoms are connected to the gut. So here's the next list. Get ready. Anxiety, mood swings, start checking them off. Fatigue or exhaustion, headaches or migraines, an autoimmune condition, something like rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's, colitis, scleroderma, something along those lines, hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's, joint pain or stiffness, muscle pain, low iron on blood tests, cognitive issues like brain fog, trouble concentrating, feeling foggy-headed, problems with memory, an itchy anus, particularly at night, poor immune function, you get sick often, recurrent yeast infections or bacterial vaginosis, recurrent UTIs, urinary tract infections or bladder infections, insomnia. How many of those did you check off? Put that into the chat, please. Two, three, two, four. Yep, you'll get the replay at, you'll get it tonight. It'll go out tonight. Wow. 6, 1, 8, 3, like 10, 4. Okay, so you really need to dial in on your digestive health. Okay, these symptoms give us clues, but so does your poop. We're going to have a bit of a chat about poop here. It's gross, I get it, but you should be looking at your poop every day because it's like a little report card for you. Just like your periods are a report card for your hormones, your poop is a report card for your digestive health and function. And your gut is the mothership for your health. All health begins in the gut. If your gut is not in a happy place, your hormones are not going to be in a happy place, and neither will you. So how are your bowel movements? Are you having daily complete bowel movements? Ideally 1 to 2 daily. 3 is a bit too much, in my opinion, because then you're not absorbing nutrients. Your transit time is too fast. 2 is the ideal, okay? Or 1 really good one. You should be eliminating the distance from your wrist to your elbow every single day. The diameter of a toonie. So if you're not in Canada, you don't know what a toonie is. If you were to take the 2 first fingers on each hand, put them together, that's the diameter that we're looking for. Coil or S-shaped, medium to dark brown in color, not tan, not tar colored. It shouldn't be sticky. You shouldn't have to wipe more than 1 to 3 times. You shouldn't be sitting there straining. You shouldn't see food particles in your stool. You shouldn't see blood or mucus in your stool either. And it should feel complete. Like when you finish your poop, you should go, okay, well, I'm good. That was great. Like almost like your stomach is flatter. You've lost a few pounds. Like that's the feeling. Like you shouldn't be sitting there like, okay, I feel like there's still something in there that isn't coming out. Okay. If you are experiencing any of those digestive symptoms or any of those symptoms that I listed that are connected to your gut health, and or you're not having ideal bowel movements, as I've just described, you really should be working on your gut health. And I'm a big believer of testing, not guessing. If you're anything like me, you've probably gone down that rabbit hole of taking the supplements that you've read about online, like the magnesium citrate, right? Or that worked wonders for a friend, a sister, a cousin, and it can feel like such a waste, like natural solutions don't work. What's really happening is you're not taking strategic action based on the needs of your physiology and biochemistry. It's so important to run functional testing like a GI map test to understand exactly what's going on and then work with a practitioner who can read, interpret, and build a strategic plan for you based on those test results. There are so many practitioners out there who have the ability to order tests, but when it comes time to read the results, they have no freaking clue what to do. I can't tell you how often I have women reaching out to me telling me that their chiropractor ordered them a Dutch test or a GMAT test, but they don't know how to read it. So they're stuck with this test that they don't know what to do with. Work with a practitioner who knows how to read, interpret, understand, and explain those results, not just order the test. Okay? A poorly functioning digestive system is an internal stress on the body. It's going to impact ovulation and progesterone. It's going to impact your thyroid. It's going to impact cortisol, energy, sleep, cognitive function, cardiovascular function, literally everything. And I also want you to know that it takes time to heal the gut. Balancing hormones takes time. This is not something that happens overnight. It's not something that even happens in a month. We need a full season, 3 to 4 months to really make shifts in your hormones, and 6 to 12 months on average to heal the gut. Does that mean that it takes that long to see improvements in your symptoms? Absolutely not. You're going to see improvements along the way in your period, your energy, your sleep, your cravings, your bloat, your mood, your outlook. It's important to be realistic here. And I know you're probably sitting there thinking, holy shit, 6 to 12 months, that's a long time. Compare that to the amount of time that you have been grappling with your hormones and other health issues, likely years, if not decades. 6 to 12 months is a drop in the bucket. And those 6 to 12 months are going to pay you dividends to your health for the next 3 to 5 decades to come. 6 to 12 months is a blip on the radar in comparison. And the return on that investment of time is invaluable. And there are a lot of things that you can be doing to support your digestive system, and by extension, then your hormones. You can be chewing your food more thoroughly, avoid rushing, eat undistracted. Think about the quality of foods that you're putting into your mouth. Can you use apple cider vinegar or bitters? Choose foods that are more supportive to the digestive system. Eat fermented foods, but be careful here if you have histamine problems, because fermented foods will exacerbate histamine. So that's not going to be very pleasant. Same thing with bone broth. Bone broth is great for the gut, but it can also stimulate histamine, so be careful there. I love ginger for digestion. It is also great as an anti-inflammatory, and it helps with motility. So it's something that's really nice if you are someone who struggles with constipation or incomplete bowel movements. It can help to get things moving. I also really love flax seeds and chia seeds for fiber and to support regular bowel movements, which is critical, again, for eliminating your hormones, especially estrogen, and avoiding those estrogen dominant type symptoms like the heavy, long, painful periods, the fibroids, the PMS, the endo, the adeno. Can you use carminative herbs, things like fennel, peppermint, caraway, to support your digestion? Can you make sure that you're drinking enough filtered water? Reconsider alcohol, sugar, and refined grains. Now, if you are a woman who likes to drink a glass of wine each night, or multiple drinks a week, or you have several drinks on the weekend, I want you to be really mindful of the effect that that is having not only on your liver and your gut, but on your estrogen levels. 2 to 4 servings of alcohol. And think about what a serving is. It's like 5 ounces for wine. How many of you, when you sit down for a glass of wine, are only having 5 ounces of wine? If you're having a glass of wine, it's probably more than that. 2 to 4 servings of alcohol can raise estrogen levels upwards of 30%. So be very aware, especially if you have cysts, fibroids, endometriosis, adenomyosis, fibrocystic breasts. Become a food detective, read labels, and even better than that, eat food that doesn't have a label at all. Just eat real whole foods. Remove the inflammatory foods like sugar, gluten, dairy, industrial seed oils. This is big. Omega-6 oils, they're in everything. So inflammatory, and they have a larger effect on morbidity, on disease and chronic conditions than sugar, believe it or not. Work with a practitioner who can support you, who can run the appropriate testing. When you're doing all of the right things, but you're still having digestive issues or other symptoms that I've mentioned, it's time to test, because you never know what you might have going on in there. And I'll share how the GI map helps us to biometrically understand how to support you as part of a broader plan towards the end today. We spend a lot of time with the women that we work with in the Hormone Harmony method, building up digestive function. This is where we see the greatest leaps in health outcomes. For women with endometriosis and adenomyosis in particular, this is the ticket to putting those conditions into remission. For women with chronic inflammatory or autoimmune conditions, including hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, supporting the gut is a non-negotiable. For women with iron deficiency, this is key to understanding how to rebuild your iron stores and get you out of that vicious cycle of iron deficiency and exhaustion, and probably heavy periods too. For women with anxiety and depression and other mood disorders, the gut is essential for supporting your neurotransmitters and your mental health. So much research in this regard from perimenopausal women now. And again, remember, healing the gut takes time. It's not just popping a probiotic or drinking some bone broth. It's uncovering what deficiencies there are, what overgrowths may be lurking, understanding markers for digestive function, for immune health, and so much more. And this can take 6, 9, 12 months. And maybe that seems like a long time to you, but let me ask you this. How long has your health been a problem? How long have your hormones been a problem? How long have you been experiencing issues with your health? 6 to 12 months is a drop in the bucket in comparison, and it's a blip on the radar when we're looking out at the next 3 to 5 decades of our life. Right? How come nausea is never mentioned? Well, it is mentioned. So remember I said there's over 100 symptoms now that are attributed to perimenopause. It is a symptom. It's not one of the more predominant ones, right? Just like itchy ears is not one of the more predominant ones, which is why it's not going to be the one that you hear first on the list every single time. But it is part of that equation, often due to blood sugar dysregulation, also the liver, nervous system dysregulation, problems in the gut. There could be some overgrowths that are happening there too. Should dairy be completely eliminated like yogurt? It depends. It depends. Some women can handle a little bit of yogurt. Most women I find do better without dairy. Why do you get the itchy ears? It's the estrogen, the drop in estrogen, because it is a mucous membrane inside of our ears. So just like, when estrogen starts to drop, our eyes get dry, our vagina gets dry, ears get dry and itchy. Does your program have a sliding scale? I'm not sure I know what you mean by that. You're welcome. Okay. So energetically, what happens to a lot of women, because I think a lot of us were the type A, we're the taskmaster, we're the ones who go and we get things done. That was me. It still is me, to be honest, and something that I have to be really consciously aware of and work at. What happens though in perimenopause, the body is kind of like, excuse me, we're not doing that anymore. Because it's a surefire way to burn out, not just adrenal burnout, but our hormones, our digestive system, our cognitive function, our energy, our moods, our immune function, our thyroid health. This is where we need to start having a really honest conversation with ourselves. What needs to shift? What needs to change? It's not just about what you eat and what supplements you're taking. It's about the boundaries that you have or lack thereof. It's about where you fit on your list of priorities. How many of you constantly put yourselves on the back burner? Everybody else comes first. Everyone else gets first dibs on the resources available in the household, and you get what's left over, if anything at all. Why? Why do you deem yourself less than or unworthy? It's also about how you talk to yourself, that mind speak that we all have with ourselves every day. It's about recognizing where we can let go of things, responsibilities that no longer serve us. It's about finding joy. These are the questions that we really need to start asking ourselves. And we've also been conditioned to expect that everything can and will happen at the snap of a finger. You order something on Amazon, you get it at your door an hour later. With a touch of a button, you can have your dinner, your lunch, your breakfast, whatever delivered. You can order your Starbucks in advance to skip the lineup. It's become so pervasive in our healthcare space too. You take a pill for any ill, Tylenol for a headache, birth control for a period problem, hopping on supplement after supplement, jumping from one fad diet to the next. Your body, your physiology, your hormones have not gotten that memo. That's not the way our hormones work. That's not the way our health works. If your goal is to be empowered about your health, you can't be empowered without education. And that's why single visits with a practitioner don't work, whether that's a nutritionist, a naturopath, a functional medicine doctor, a chiropractor, an acupuncturist, whatever. It's not enough time to dive deep into your health timeline, your full health presentation, your health history, your season of life, the contributing factors. Our healthcare system is a sick care system or a symptom management system. It's not a healthcare system anymore. And here's the thing, the human body, hormones especially, are complicated. I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on my education to date, and I continue to do so because there is so much to learn. The answers to your health are not on Dr. Google. They're not at the bottom of the latest and greatest supplement bottle or the trendiest diet. If it were that easy, you probably would not be sitting here with me today. There's nothing wrong with you. You shouldn't be expected to know this. I've dedicated my career to understanding women's health and hormones and menstrual cycles. This is what I've studied, what I've obtained multiple degrees, diplomas, and certifications in, and I'm still learning. So give yourself some grace. Women's health is a complicated matter. Unless you've committed years to school to study this, there's no way you can be expected to figure it all out. To really optimize your health and hormones as a 35 plus cycling woman, a perimenopausal woman, we need an opportunity to deep dive into your health timeline, your full health history, what you're currently grappling with, what your goals are, barriers that you might bump up against, support systems that you have in place, and dig into all of the contributing factors like nutrition and nutrient deficiencies, insulin and glucose management, insulin sensitivity and resistance, liver and gallbladder health and function, hormone metabolism, digestive health and wellness, inflammation, cognition, nervous system and adrenal health and wellness, and so much more. You can't do that in a single appointment with a doctor or a nutritionist or a naturopath or a chiropractorist or an acupuncturist or a traditional Chinese medicine specialist, etc. Now, don't get me wrong. I love alternative practitioners and I know some really great ones, but how much can you really accomplish in an hour? Especially when you consider the amount of time that you've likely been grappling with your health and hormones. Many women that I talk to have spent years, even decades, struggling with their health. That doesn't get resolved in a single appointment. I'm constantly amazed at how much I continue to learn about the ladies that I work with 3, 4, 5 months in. You've lived a full life. There is so much to unpack and learn about you. And so often there's a piece of information about their health, their lived experience that they'll mention 3, 4, 5 months in. And my team and I are sitting there thinking, oh my God, that's the missing piece. If only we'd known that from the beginning. There is so much to uncover and explore to really dive deep into your health and experience the outcomes that you desire to achieve. Is this landing with you? Is this making sense? And can I take a minute to explore what this could look like working with me and my team this year? How to lose weight, so literally all of the things that I talked about today. So body composition, weight gain, just like all of the other symptoms that we experience, whether it is, anxiety, cognitive issues, period problems, joint pain, digestive issues, it's just a symptom. Oftentimes, we need to be looking at inflammation, which stems from the gut. We need to be looking at insulin resistance. So we need to be looking at nutrition, blood sugar, insulin sensitivity, and stability. Those are really key pieces. Also the liver, because when your liver is overburdened, all of the toxicants that we come into contact with on a daily basis, they cannot be dealt with by the liver. So they get stored in the body in your fat cells. So until your liver is able to rev up and run effectively and efficiently, your body is going to hang on to that fat because it's got to protect you from all of those toxicants. So once we work on your liver and your liver's like, okay, I'm ready now, give it to me, your fat cells can release the toxins, your liver can deal with them, and now your body can release the fat. So Pooja, you can check out my Women's Health Virtual Clinic. Okay, so let me take a minute to explore what it looks like working with my team and I. If you are the type of woman who is ready to take her health to the next level, to be empowered with education, to have a deep level of support, functional testing, who desires full body, full health transformation, who is ready to take action, who is ready to show up and receive support. The Hormone Harmony Method is where you can work with me directly in 2024 to be coached, mentored, and guided by me, to have the education, the resources, the in-depth support into the root causes of your health and hormone struggles. First of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop a link into the chat right now. We're going to take a little moment. Let me make sure it pops in for everyone. If you could please just let me know if you can see a link there. We're gonna just take 30 seconds here. Open up that link. Do yourself a favor, just go click on that link, open it up. It's going to open up in a separate tab. It should anyway. If not, you might have to copy it and paste it into your browser. If you could just, one of you, let me know that it's working, that you can see it there. It's going to open up in a tab there on your browser. So you can have the opportunity now or after our class this afternoon to be able to go take a look in there, to read more information. Perfect. Thank you, Amber. To read more information, even schedule in for a discovery call with me and my team, Ashley and Danielle. So you can have a look through this as I'm sharing some information with you here too. And if you have questions, ask away, pop them into the chat. So here is how the Hormone Harmony Method works. It is a 6-month education-rich, fully supported and guided program. There are 4 pillars. Nutrition is the first one. This is where I teach you the ins and the outs of blood sugar and insulin stability. There are full meal plans, recipes, recipe collections, the how, what, where, when, and why, so you can be empowered with the knowledge and understanding of what you're doing and why. That way you actually do it. When you understand what you're being asked to do, how it's going to support you and what it's going to do for you in your body, that's when you're actually going to go and do it, not just because somebody told you to. That's when you're going to stop. Okay. This is how you build your confidence. This is how you start to follow through. Okay. You can have a complete appreciation and understanding for why and how it's supportive of your specific body. We're going to get into the liver and liver metabolism and detox. I've got a delivery man outside my door. It's very distracting. He's gone now. We're going to get into liver metabolism and detox. There are 2 complete detox protocols. I've got 1 pre-detox protocol, so we can really support your metabolic and detoxification pathways to open up and optimize your liver function and other pathways of elimination. It's not just your liver. We've got to look at your gallbladder, your kidneys, your lymphatic system, even your cellular function. Your gut is part of that process too. So we can support estrogen metabolism so that you're not making all of the wrong forms of estrogen that are contributing to the things like heavy, long, and painful periods, fibroids, endometriosis, adenomyosis, endometrial hyperplasia. And the Dutch test is invaluable here as well. So we can directly see how your liver is breaking down your estrogens. So we know biochemically how your body is functioning and the support that it specifically needs, because it's different for every woman. So the Dutch test allows us to really hone in and understand your physiology, to understand your biochemical makeup, to develop data-driven solutions, not guessing games, not trial and error, data-driven protocols that support your body. We support gut health and digestive wellness. This is where we run the GI map gut health test. So we have the data to understand what's going on with your digestive system from the inside out, and to craft customized and strategic protocols to support your energy, your moods, your cognitive function, your immune system, your thyroid health, your nervous system, and your cortisol levels. We support your nervous system, your adrenals, again, with data from the Dutch test here, to improve your energy, your resiliency, to support your moods, to improve your sleep, to give your libido a boost, to prevent you from feeling exhausted and overwhelmed. You'll have a dedicated client success coach to hold your hand each and every step of the way. Multiple private consultations, weekly group office hours, daily touch points via a private group. That old model of having an appointment with a doctor or a practitioner, it doesn't work. That's not how you're going to be successful. We're going to hold you accountable and be by your side each and every step of the way. Failure is not an option here. No more guessing games, no more trial and error, no more wasting time, money, and energy on things that don't work. Just answers, data, and support from a team of women's health and hormone specialists who have been where you are and who have a proven track record of success. We educate you, we don't tell you. We create plans and protocols based on the education. You've got to be part of that journey. You have to play that active role and understand that this is a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't change overnight. Give yourself a full season, 3 to 4 months. The ovarian cycle is 90 to 120 days long. So a solid change from a hormone perspective is 3 to 4 months of being consistent, not just with supplements, but with boundaries, with food, with sleep, etc. If you do not get in charge and in front of what's going on with your hormones, you're going to feel it physically, mentally, and emotionally. And you're going to keep chasing the next diet, the next supplement, the next practitioner. One thing will work for a period of time, but then it's going to stop because it's not addressing the root cause. Your gut, your liver, your metabolism, your endocrine system, your adrenals, your nervous system. You're just walking around your symptoms and your health versus really drilling deep and understanding. For us to really truly feel healthy, we need to learn how to get around the sick care system. You're going to be spending 10 years or so in perimenopause, then another 3 to 5 decades in menopause. You get to choose how you're going to experience these next 30 to 40 years or more. Healing also happens in community. There's so many women who feel shamed in talking about what they're experiencing. When you are part of a community, you're not going to feel as stressed and alone about what's going on in your body. Your support system grows. You feel connected to the whole, which is greater than the sum of its parts. You learn from other women and you heal. If this is good, it's feeling good, it's resonating, if you're interested in working with me and my team, your next step is to schedule in for a complimentary discovery call with me and my team, Ashley and Danielle. I'm going to pop a link into the chat. There we go. So that link is there. You can go ahead and book in for a complimentary discovery call. Now, Ashley, Danielle, and I, we are here to listen to you, to really hear you and validate what you're experiencing. We are terrific at holding space for you to finally be seen and heard and to get answers, to offer you real solutions to your hormone and health concerns beyond hormonal birth control and medication, beyond what you're seeing on mainstream social media. In that discovery call, we're going to explore your current health presentation. We're going to start diving into your health history, what you've tried, what has worked, what hasn't worked, what your goals are. And we'll start exploring the roadmap that we would recommend for you in the Hormone Harmony method. That way you can feel confident in the path that we're going to lay out for you and comfortable with the approach that we're going to take. You'll have ample opportunity to ask questions and really truly understand what your next steps are. You'll be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. If you're booking in for a call, I do ask that you really respect our time, because while this isn't a consult, we do put a lot of energy into this call to help you figure out how we can best support you. And if this were an appointment for your child, your spouse, your partner, your pet, you wouldn't cancel. You wouldn't not show up. Why do you cancel on yourself? This one time, keep the promise that you have made for yourself and show up for the call if you choose to book in. Okay. Any last questions before we wrap up today? And just as a reminder, go ahead and pop your questions into the chat box there. When you're doing all of the right things, you're eating well, you're prioritizing sleep, you're keeping your blood sugar stable, you're eating fermented foods, you're taking the supplements that you've read about, and you're still not seeing the results that you're looking for, it is time for a deeper dive. You are not doomed. You are not meant to suffer. It is not genetics. There are answers, and my team and I would love to support you. So have a look on the information on that page that I've linked to in the chat there. Schedule in for a complimentary discovery call with me and my team. And of course, if you have any questions, you're welcome to drop them into the chat here today. You can also connect with me over on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. I'm at stephanie.sing.balancedhealth. And I'd love to connect with you there as well. Okay. So you can go ahead, pop your questions into the chat if you have any. In the meantime, I hope you learned something new today. I hope you've been inspired. I hope you have hope. And I look forward to potentially working with you. Okay. I'm just going to quickly scroll. So Pooja, reach out to me on Instagram rather, and we can have a conversation there. What would you say is a good strategy to start with a liver support or first gut? It depends. It depends on the person. This is why I say there is no one size fits all. There is no, specific protocol for for all of the women in perimenopause. We really do an in-depth analysis of you as a person. Where are you? For some women, if they are in a very burnt out, exhausted, sort of adrenal fatigued state, they're in a very deficient state, launching into something like a liver detox is not going to be the best first step. Really reinforcing and building up is going to be the priority there. So it really depends. It depends on the woman. You're very welcome. Okay. Well, I don't see any other questions here. If you are the type of person, because this is me 100%, I'll be in a class, I'll be in a lecture, and I'm the absorber of information. Okay, I'm the absorber. I don't have the questions in the moment, but the moment I leave the class or I end a call or the conversation, whatever, what have you, that's when my mind is like, oh, what about this? What about that? You should have asked about this. What about that other thing? And that's when all of the questions come for me. Don't sweat it. If you are that person, schedule in for a complimentary discovery call. We can answer your questions there. You can also reach out to me on Instagram as well. Okay. And again, it's at Stephanie. You know what? I'll put it in the chat here. At Balanced Health. At stephanie.sing.balancedhealth. There we go. So that's where you can find me on Instagram. Okay. All right. Well, thank you again so much for joining me today. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, and we'll chat soon. Bye for now.